So review. We're going to do a review now of Daf Yod, and it starts the last line in Daf Tasamud Bey. So first topic that the Daf discusses is the fact that the Mishnah said there were 6 Sari Mikla, 3 of them were in Eva Yarden, and 3 of them were in Eretz Yisrael. The question is that it's lopsided. Doesn't make any sense. There was 2.5 Shvatim in Eva Yarden. There was 9.5 Shvatim in Eretz Yisrael. Why do you need the same amount of Ari Mikla for Eva Yarden as for Eretz Yisrael? So Gemara answers that in Gilad, in Eva Yarden, there was lots of Roitzchim, and because of that, there needed to be more. There needed to be more Ari Miklat. And the Rishonim deal with the question of what do you mean there's more Roitzchim? The Golos is only for Ritzicha B'Shoigi, this is Ritzicha B'Mezid, and they come up with a number of questions. You could Tosfos, and you look at the Ramban al Torah if you want, and in other places as well. The Maharal, Gur Aryeh. So that is the first thing that we deal with. And then the Gemara asks a similar question with regards to how it was spaced out. We said in the Brisa that the cities were equally spaced out. That from the border of the land of Eretz Yisrael to the first city was a quarter of Eretz Yisrael, and another quarter to the second city, and another quarter to the third city, and another quarter to the southern border. Although it sounds nice on paper, it sounds equal, but also is not equal, because if you kill in the middle of Eretz Yisrael, you have 2 cities to either side of you. So the maximum you ever have to go is an eighth of Eretz Yisrael. Mashiach, if you kill by the border of Eretz Yisrael, either border, you're going to have to go a whole quarter of the land of Eretz Yisrael, a whole quarter of the length of Eretz Yisrael. So the Gemara answers similar answer, same answer really, essentially that B'Shchem in the center of Eretz Yisrael, Shchichi Roitzchim, there were a lot of Roitzchim, and therefore you also needed more Ari Miklat. That's the first thing, first discussion of Daf Yod. This next discussion is that the Mishnah says the 6 Ari Miklat. The pasuk implies that there's another 42 cities, right? Because the pasuk says Valeim Titnu. After it says the Sheish Ari Miklat, it says Valeim Titnu Arba Mishtayim. Why does the Mishnah? What's special about these 6? So the Mishnah decides to talk about these 6, not the other 42. So the Gemara answers that there's a difference between the 6 and the 42. The 6 were Koilet Bein Ladas Bein Shaloi Ladas. So Ritzech found himself there, he was protected. The 42 would only protect if he went there intentionally with the intention of protecting himself from the Goel Adam. Shaloi Ladas Eina Koilet. Then the Gemara asks Kasha that the Mishnah says, the Brisa says that Chevron was one of the Ari Mikla. The Brisa at the bottom of the Testament of the base says that Chevron was one of the Ari Mikla. How does that fit in with the passage which says that Kalev got Chevron? So the Gemara answers that Chevron was given to Kalev, but as it's Takamashman Yeshua, that the other way around. Chevron was a Takan Ir Mikla. And when we say that Chevron was given to Kalev, we mean to say the suburbs, the surrounding areas, the Chatzeris, the suburbs of the surrounding area of Chevron, that's what was given to Kalev. Then the Gemara asks, how can we say that Kadesh was one of the Ari Miklat? Kadesh is listed among those cities which were very big cities, the Brisa says, the Pasuk says, in Nach. So how can we say that we know there's a din that big cities can't be Ari Mikla? Why can a big city not be an Ari Mikla? Because the Goel Adam is going to be Motzoi there. It's like, and we don't want him to be in a big city where the Goel Adam is going to come there for whatever he needs to do from time to time. So our Ari Mikla can't be a big city. It can only be an average city. Can't be a small city either, but it can't be a big city. So how does it fit in with the passage which says that Kadesh was a big city? So the answers, there are really 2 answers. Either there's 2 Kadeshes, two cities with the same name, or it's the way there was a main city Kadesh, and then there was a smaller city nearby which was called Kadesh. We have this concept in other places that you have the big city and then like a smaller city nearby which has the same name. And the Ir Miklat was the Kadesh, which was a medium-sized city, and the passage which talks about Kadesh being a big city was a big Kadesh. Okay. Now we go to the Etzem discussion of the Brisa. Earlier we said you don't make an Ir Miklat, small city, big city, only an average city. So the Brisa has a whole bunch of other things as well. You need to make sure there's water. You need to make sure that there's a marketplace, there's people selling things, and you have to make sure that there's cities surrounded with people living in the suburbs. There's yeshuvim, there's little villages and settlements outside of the city, and if for some reason the people moved out, you make sure that there's more people, and you don't sell certain things which will cause the Goel Adam to be motzoi there. So that's the Brisa. And then we continue and talk about the Indian of V'chai. The passage says that he runs to one of the cities and he lives. Vasap is living. So we explain that this is explaining what we said earlier, that we make sure that he has what he needs, and that's Takawai. We make sure that the cities have to have food and he needs to have parnasa. He needs to be able to have parnasa. V'chai means it's not just that he should live, but that he should have something to live with. He should have what he needs. Another pshat in v'chai, another brisa says that you have to make sure that he has spiritual life, meaning to say that a talmid shagola megalin rabbi a talmid shagola, someone who's involved in learning, you need to make sure that he has someone to teach him, because if not, he's like his dad. Because someone who's involved in learning Torah and doesn't have an access to Torah is like that. So you have to make sure that he has chayos, he has life, which in this case means that he has a rabbi to teach him Torah. And from here we learn that you shouldn't teach a talmid sheina hagon, you shouldn't teach a talmid who doesn't behave properly, because he might kill b'shoigin, he might end up in galus, and you're going to end up in galus with him. A similar din is that a rav shegola megal in yeshiva, a rav who's goyla yumegal in yeshiva. The Gemara then deals with the question: why does a rav get galus? L'chora, the Torah protects him. Which, by the way, just a side question I'm throwing it out. I don't have an answer right now. L'chora, I don't understand the Gemara's question, because there's a din. Besides the galus being protection, there's also an oynish. There's also a kapara, and it's also mechaper for his avera. So even if the Torah protects the person from the goyel adam, who says it doesn't provide the person with an oynish that he's exiled? But anyway, the Gemara is asking a kasha that why does the Rav who's goyla, who learns a lot of Torah, why does he have to go to galus? We know that there's a din that Rabbi Yisroel says that divrei Torah called him. The fact that the pasuk of galus is next to the zois Torah, we learn that Torah protects a person. The Gemara gives two answers. One is that yes, Torah does protect from the goyel adam, but only while you're learning Torah you protect from the goyel adam. But the time when you're not protected, you need to be in galus. You're not learning Torah 24/7. So when you're sleeping or when you're eating, whatever you're doing, which is not learning Torah, you need to be protected. So that's why you need to go to galus. The second pshat is no. When the Rabbi Yisroel said the divrei Torah called him, the words of Torah protect you, it doesn't mean from the goyel adam. It means from malach hamavis. It means from natural death through the malach hamavis. That was protected. Like we see by Rav Chisda, that he was learning Torah, and the malach hamavis couldn't kill him until he distracted him, or he stopped learning for a minute, and then the malach hamavis was able to. Then the malach hamavis was able to kill him. Moving on to a different topic, the Gemara discusses that why, when the pasuk talks about the Ari Miklas and Eva Yarden, it reverses the order. It doesn't start from north. It doesn't start in the same order that by Eretz Yisrael. By one it says north to south, the other it goes south to north. When it comes to Eva Yarden, it doesn't say the same order that it said in Eretz Yisrael. The reason is because he wanted to start with Reuven first. Why Reuven first? Because we're talking about Inyani Hatzalah, saving somebody. So we start with the city which is in the Nachla of Reuven, because Reuven was the first one to try and save Yosef. No, to actually save Yosef, that's the truth. He saved Yosef by taking him, by telling Shimon and Levi not to kill him, but rather to throw him into the bar. Then the pasuk's derish on the pasuk Az Yavdul Moshe Shalosh Aram Be'eva Yard Mizrach Hashamish. Why does it use this lashon Mizrach Hashamish to pshatim? Either Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, make sure they have what they need. In other words, the sun should rise for the Reitzchim. They should have everything that they need in the city, which is what we referred to earlier, that they have all the different needs for them in the city. According to another pshat, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was commending him, was congratulating Moshe on the fact that he prepared these cities. His Rach Hashamish Reitzchim, you let the sun rise. In other words, you let the Reitzchim have a protection. Then the Gemara discusses the pasuk Oyev Kasef Lo Yispa Kasef, and the Hemshcha pasuk Mi Oyev Bahamin Lo Yitfu, and it says that Oyev Kasef Lo Yispa Kasef. A little bit pashas, it means someone who loves money and is never satisfied by money. Over here, it's referring to Moshe Rabbeinu, who wasn't satisfied with the mitzvah. In other words, he wanted more and more mitzvahs, even though he knew that the Ari Mikra that he prepared in Eva Yarden, as the Mishnah says, didn't work until Yeshua's cities, until they split the land 14 years later, until the cities in Eretz Yisrael were prepared and were koiled. Nevertheless, Moshe said, I've got a mitzvah to do, I'm going to do it, even though there's no benefit from it right now. Mitzvah bal yadai, mitzvah shabal yadai akaimenu. Then, since we're already on this passage, so we're discussing things which are not connected with the rest of the Alma, discusses things which are nothing to do with the sugya of Ari Miklat, right, Masaches Makkos. But since we're talking about the pasuk of Oyev Kaseh Bakas, we go on to the pasuk of Mi Oyev Bahamin Lo Tavor, and we say a number of pshatim. Mi Oyev Bahamin literally translates as somebody who loves the many. Lo Tavor doesn't have produce, or according to the way we're going to learn it, Lo Tavor, that he does have produce. So we say a number of pshatim in this pasuk. One is that Mi Noel Alamed Bahamin, who should teach Barabim, someone who has Tavor, meaning someone who knows a lot of Torah. He should, he's Baki and Mikra, Mishnah, Gemara, and everything. He should be somebody who teaches, and that's one pshat. And we bring a raya for that. And the second pshat we say is a different pshat. is that somebody who loves kol ha'oyev b'haman lo yitvu means that somebody who loves the Talmidei Chachamim who teach many people lo yitvu, meaning that they'll have children or Talmidei Chacham. They'll become Talmidei Chacham. Themselves will have children Talmidei Chacham. That's the second pshat. The third pshat is that somebody who teaches b'haman lo yitvu, meaning to say that when you learn, you should learn b'chabura, you should learn with a chavrusa, because if you learn by yourself, then we say that it's cherev al tzavurayim, and the Gemara says that they become foolish and they end up doing averis. Basically, when you learn together with other people, they keep you on your feet. They make sure that you learn Torah properly, and you don't end up being misled. You don't end up doing averis. And finally, a fourth pshat in this pasuk is saying something else. Not that you should learn barab, but you should teach a lot of people. There's a mile in teaching, because when the more talmidim you have, you learn for your talmidim in a way that you wouldn't be able to learn if you learn stamazon. But if you teach a lot of people, you get from each talmid that you learn with you gain more. Yeah. And then we go on to a different topic, a different agad, where the pasuk says that the success at war is based on learning Torah. And another member from Shiur ben Levi, Dovid HaMelech said that he was happy when he heard people wishing for his death, even though he was going to die. But the reason why they were wishing for his death was because Shlomo HaMelech would take over, and then the Beis Hamikdash was going to be built, because the Beis Hamikdash wasn't going to be built in David's days, and they knew that, and therefore they were and David HaMelech was happy hearing that there's going to be a Beis Hamikdash after he passes away. And HaKadosh Baruch says no. Another pasuk in a different capital, Tehillim, Ki toivim b'chatzrecha me'elef, that I'd rather one day that you're learning Torah than thousands of oilos, the thousand oilos that Shlomo HaMelech Taka is going to offer up, and he Taka did offer up. Because Baruch Hu reassured him that I actually prefer your one day of toiling in Torah than the 1,000 karbanas that Shlomo HaMelech was makiv on the mizbeach. Okay, so that's the end of Yud Amud Aleph. Then the Gemara goes to the topic of Mechavni Islam Drachim. The Mishnah said that we prepare the way for the Ari Miklat. What does it mean? So the Brayso elaborates and says that at every crossroads there was a sign Miklat which would tell the Ritzeach where to go. And the Khan explains that the pasuk, which is the marker for this, is the pasuk of Tachin L'Chaderech, already quoted in the Mishnah, that you should prepare the way. And then we have two drashas, two Amiroim, who before they would teach the halachas of Ari Miklat, of Golos, they would each one of them would give a different Musar Haskel, a different lesson in Hashkaf, in Musar. The first one is that if we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepares the way for the Rishayim, he guides them and makes sure that even they're protected and they can run to the Ari Miklat, to Kavachoyim, for people who are not Rishayim, people who don't kill B'Shaygig, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu guides them and helps them out. And the second one is the kind of the Hashkach Elyoina that we see from the story of Ari Miklat, because the pasuk says Valikim inu liyade, that someone who kills b'shoigeg, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes him kill b'shoigeg, which l'chora goes against everything we know, that the Averis are bidei. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't make a person sin. Even b'shoigeg, we know there's a certain level of Avera, otherwise you wouldn't get galus, right? You did something wrong. So what's Valikim inu liyade? So the pshat is that Misham Yetziresha, that we're talking about a situation where two people killed, one person killed B'Shogeg, one person killed B'Mezid, there was no Eidim. So the person who killed B'Shogeg is really Chayiv Galos, but there's no one to tell him to go to Galos because he killed in the quiet. And there was no Eidim there. The one who killed B'Mezid is Chayiv Misa, but he's not. No one can ensure that he's Chayiv Misa because there's also no Eidim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu arranges that these two people who killed B'Shogeg and B'Mezid respectively, without Eidim, they come together to the same location, and the one who kills B'Shogeg goes up the ladder and falls on the one who kills B'Mezid. And here there are Eidim. So the one who killed B'Shogeg the first time now kills B'Shogeg a second time and kills the guy who kills B'Mezid, and the guy who kills B'Mezid ends up getting his just punishment of being killed, and the one who kills B'Shogeg ends up getting his punishment of getting Golos because he killed B'Shogeg, and here there are Eidim, and that's Travel Likim in Eliyad. Then the Gemara talks about B'derech Sh'adam Reik Tzelelich Ba'Melichin Oisai, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lets a person misbehave. He doesn't stop him from misbehaving. And there's psukim in Torah, Nevim, and Ksuvim which support this. By Bilam, that's the Kum Leichit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him go with them. In Nevim, Ksuvim, there's psukim to this effect. And then we have a discussion which takes us the next almost to the end of the Amud, about whether a Goyel Adam who kills the Goyal Adam who kills the Ritzech B'Shoigeg, the Goyal Adam who kills the Ritzech B'Shoigeg, whether he's Chayiv Misa or not. In other words, the Amor of Huna says that he's not. He's Potter, and he learns that the Pasuk V'Loi Ein Mishpat Moves, which is said in the parasha of Ari Mikla, is talking about the Goyal Adam. So the Gemara asks a kash from a brayso, which seems to say otherwise. V'Loi Ein Mishpat Moves is taka referring to the Ritzech, and brings a raya from the fact that the Hemshech Pasuk V'Hulei Soinele Mitmol Shilshim is talking about the Ritzech. So for sure, the beginning of the Pasuk V'Loi Ein Mishpat Moves is also talking about the Ritzech. So the kash to Rav Huna who says V'Loi Ein Mishpat Moves is talking about the Goyal Adam, and the Goyal Adam is part of the L'chor. The brayso says clearly that V'Loi Ein Mishpat Moves is talking about the Ritzech. The person who kills B'Shoigeg is not Chayiv Misa. But for all I know, the Goyal Adam is Chayiv Misa for killing the Ritzech B'Shoigeg. So the Gemara answers this, by the way, is talking about the Ritzech on his way to the Ir Mikvah. Not when he is in the Ir Mikvah, he's on his way to the Ir Mikvah. This is the deal. And Rav Huna is saying his part to ask a kasha from the brayso which says otherwise. The Gemara answers that Taka, Rav Huna, this brayso doesn't go like Rav Huna. Rav Huna has another brayso which supports him, where there the brayso is clear the V'Loi Ein Mishpat Moves is talking about the Goyal Adam, and actually brings a right from the fact that the Hemshech Pasuk is talking about the Ritzech. Must be that the beginning of the Pasuk is talking about Goyal Adam, because otherwise it will be repetitive. So the same reason which was brought as a raya one way is now brought as a raya for the other. The same part of the Pasuk is so Rav Huna goes like that. So what we have over here is two braysos. One saying that the Pasuk V'Loi Ein Mishpat Moves is talking about the Goyal Adam, like Rav Huna, and one says the V'Loi Ein Mishpat Moves is talking about the Ritzech. So these two braysos would be arguing about whether the Goyal Adam is Taka Chayiv Misa for killing the Ritzech B'Shoigeg on his way to Galus or not. To which we bring a raya from our Mishnah, the Mishnah Daf Testament base, which we learnt last week, which says that the Bezdin would send two Talmid Chachamim with the Ritzech to accompany him to Galus. Why two Talmid Chachamim? Two Talmid Chachamim. So there should be two Eidim. That if the Goyal Adam wants to kill the Hari B'Shoigeg, they'll warn him and say, "What do you mean? You're not allowed. You're going to be Chayiv Misa if you kill him." Is a raya that the Goyal Adam is Taka Chayiv, and it's a kash against Rav Huna who says Pater. The Gemara says, "No. What do you mean, Adrabah?" There's a brayso which explains clearly that the pshat in the Mishnah is not that they warn him, but rather they just persuade the Goyal Adam not to kill the Ritzech B'Shoigeg by telling him, he only killed B'Shoigeg. And Taka, that's what the brayso says. Brayso Taka continues, but brayso brings rayas from Psukim that that's the case. Rabbi says there's no raya from the Psukim, because although the Psukim imply that the sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry, Rameh says that the brayso just continues by saying that Rameh Taka argues on the Tanakama. We saw this in the Mishnah as well. That Humidabali asks me, you don't need to send two Talmid Chachamim because he can talk for himself. Okay. Yeah, and the Chacham said, no, it's better that other people should talk on his behalf. So then the Gemara discusses the Etzem Brayso, which says that the Shnei Talmid Chachamim tell the Ritzech B'Shoigeg the Bishkaga B'Maiseli. What do you mean? What are they adding? What are they telling the Goyal Adam? Obviously, it's Bishkaga. The guy is running the goals. It's obviously Shoigeg. So the Gemara answers, no, it's not true. Because we know that Mezidin would also run to Galus. In fact, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Mezidin would have to go to Galus. That's the din that they would go to Galus. And as the pasuk says, that they would take him out. And sometimes they would let him get killed by the Goyal Adam. Sometimes they would tell him to go home, and sometimes they would tell him to go back to the Ir Mikvah, depending on whether he was a Karv Amazed or Einus or Shoigeg. So there's a raya that everyone ran to Galus first of all. And so and that's Takan answer that's why that's in fact that he's going to Golos isn't a raya that he killed the Shoigeg, because even the Mezidin would run to Golos. Rabbi actually says slightly differently. Rabbi argues and says there's no raya from the Pesukim that you're amazed is chayiv to go to Golos and then later the Bezdin take him out. Rather, that's just what happened. That the people who killed the Mezidin knew that they could run to Ari Mikvah and try to get protected that way, and then the Bezdin would be mechoyev to take them out of that. But not that the person who kills the Mezidin taka chayiv to go to Galus. Rather, that's what they would do. But either way, we see that Mezidin would run to Galus, and that's an answer to our question. So then finally, the last kata of this Amud talks about this idea of the Zikni or Eir. Zikni or Eir. First of all, Pasuk in Yisroel, which says that the Dibba Bazni Zikni Eir is Devara, from which we learn that the word Devara of the Gemara Darshans, that the Devara of the Ritzeh can't be the same as the Devara of the Zikni or Eir. Meaning the people who live in the city have to be living in a city which is mainly not Reitzchem. But if it's a city Sharuba Reitzchem, it's not Koilet, because then he's not saying something which is unique to what it's not called Devara, something which is his words, his story. Rather, he's saying. He's telling them the story that they're familiar with, that they're all right. So from here we learn that the Ir Sharuba Reitzchem Eina Kilatas, and actually now the Gemara continues and says actually from the fact that we see Ziknei Ir, mentioned in context of Ari Miklat, there's an Amorah of Elazar which says that the same Rabbi Elazar said Irsha Ruba Reitzchem Einik Pilatus also says that Irsha Ebo Zekanim Einik Pilatus because you need Ziknei Ir. And then Taka the Gemara continues by saying that it's Taka Machlokes Amiroim. I mean, Rasi, some say yes, Koilet, some say not Koilet. In other words, if you have a city without Zekanim, does it serve as an Ari Miklat or not? It's a Machlokes Amiroim. And the reason is because they argue whether when the pasuk is Ziknei Ir, it's Likuva, it means that you have to have Ziknei, and if not, then it's not a good Ari Miklat, or it's just La Mitzvah Ba'alma that if you have Ziknei Ir, then this is what you should do, and they should take him out. But if you don't have Ziknei Ir, so there will be a Zikanim from another Ir, whatever. But it's not Likuva. And on that note, the Gemara brings two other machlokes to get to Ben Tzar and Moir and Egla Rufa, where there too the pasuk says Ziknei Ir and hit, and there too the Rav Ami Rav Asi Choilek whether you take a need the Ziknei Ir to be there, and if not, there's no din Ben Tzar and Moir whatsoever. There's no din of Egla Rufa whatsoever, or it's the mitzvah ba'alma. It's not Likuva. It's just a mitzvah that should be the Zakanim. But if there's no Zakanim, you can still be done Ben Tzar and Moir, and you can still be done the Egla Rufa. So that's the end of Daf Yud. And Be'ez Hashem, we'll see you all next week.